Hello and welcome back to the latest edition of the Debrief here on the Blood Red channel. I'm your host, Edward Kay. Joining me once again is Liverpool.com editor Matt Addison. And Liverpool 3, Leicester 0, a pretty resounding victory away at the King Power. Obviously, Leicester puts them in even further trouble relegation-wise, but puts Liverpool firmly in the hunt for Champions League places with 3 games left to play for United and for Newcastle. Newcastle up next on Thursday evening, I believe, against Brighton. But I mean, when we spoke this morning, Matt, you were talking me through how the game could go ideally for Liverpool. I think you said weather the storm first 20 minutes, half an hour or so, wait for the Leicester fans to die down and hit them then. Liverpool got about 2 goals in 5 minutes after that half-hour mark, didn't they? And it was pretty much spot on for everything you said this morning.
Yeah, the only shame really is that they couldn't go on and get a couple more goals, because I think that the opportunity was there. There was a few chances. I think Diogo Jota would have scored had the referee not given the soft foul in the penalty area. There was a couple of moments where Gakpo could have played the ball to Salah on the right and picked the wrong option. There was, a couple of chances that Liverpool got. I mean, obviously, you're nitpicking a little bit when you've gone away to Leicester and won 3-0. I know it's not the same Leicester. It's a very different Leicester to what we've seen in previous seasons. But yeah, it was a good professional performance from Liverpool. I am slightly disappointed that they didn't go on and score a few more. It's plus 28, the goal difference, compared to Newcastle's plus 32. Obviously, things still have to happen for that to come into play. But I think the opportunity was there for them to really put their foot down there tonight. But yeah, Europa League is secure now. That's mathematically certain. So that's one thing that's good. It's not too long since we were talking about would they even get into Europe at all? Would they be able to do that? They have done that and not into the third tier competition. Still the opportunity to get the Champions League. I think obviously Liverpool are in a decent position. They've still got to go and win a couple of games. I think the Aston Villa match will be considerably harder than this one was. But I think we mentioned this morning about there being a bit of a gap and a bit of rustiness. I'm glad it was Leicester that they were playing first and not the other way around. I think Villa would have been a tough one to come back to after that little break. But yeah, I think it was a good performance. Lots of positives to take. They could only sort of win that match and see what happens. And like you say, all eyes now on Thursday. And can Brighton do Liverpool a favour? And maybe Chelsea, they've got to play both of those teams. So all Liverpool can do is keep winning. But yeah, 7 games on the bounce that they've won now. They've certainly not got anywhere close to that up to this point in the season. And yeah, it was relatively impressive, I think.
Yeah, as you said, a few people in the comments there just shouting out that it is 7 wins on the bounce. Obviously, Curtis Jones has started, I think, every single one of those wins. It's 9 successive starts for him. I mean, what a run of form. He's got a few goals in and amongst, obviously 2 tonight. Is there any possibility, do you think he's making an argument? I mean, people in the comments might kill me for this, but is he making an argument that Liverpool might need to sign one less midfielder in the summer?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it's still the big question mark, I think, with him is over his fitness. I think if he can keep himself fit and he's in this sort of form, you are looking at a player that can go in and, maybe get, 8-10 goals, maybe similar sort of numbers for assists. I think he is, that good. The question, as with most of the Liverpool midfielders, has never really been about their quality. It's more about the consistency and the availability. Obviously, he's been able to string together these performances. There's been not loads of midweeks, but a couple of midweeks. There was the West Ham game, wasn't there, where they played 2 or 3 games in the space of 7 days around that sort of period. That's happened a couple of times. Obviously, Liverpool will be in European competition of some form next season, so he's not going to be able to play every single match. I think, you are still looking at potentially bringing in a couple of players in that position, but I think it's not just him. There's a couple of players in there that have really improved in this bit of form, really. I think Fabinho is another one that looks a completely different player. Obviously, part of that is the fact that he's got a little bit more legs around him with Trent playing more in the middle, but I think his form has looked good and he's looked a lot better and he started to win in those duels again, which is obviously important. And I think particularly for someone in that kind of position, you need, if you're this Liverpool team, to have someone that can be there and can be reliable. So yeah, there's still question marks. I think, Curtis Jones has answered a lot of those questions, but I think you are always looking minimum 2, possibly 3 or 4 midfielders. I don't think they'll get 4. It's a case of, can you get away with 2 maybe rather than 3? But maybe it's, not even a case of the numbers. Maybe it's just you can maybe spend a little bit more money in a different position. Maybe you can splash a bit more on a centre half or something like that. I think it'll be an interesting one. I don't think it'll massively change the transfer plans, but I think it's definitely changed the perceptions in terms of, 8-9 games ago, you were looking at it and thinking, I'm not sure where Curtis Jones gets another game. possibly could have been asking questions around his future at this point in the season had he not got himself into the team. But I think that's absolutely been quashed. I think at this point, I think there's absolutely no reason why he can't kick on, and hopefully he can stay fit for the rest of this season, have a good pre-season and kick on from there. I think that has always been the question for him. Has he got the ability to stay fit and avoid the injuries? And he's been really unlucky with that sort of thing over the last couple of years. But it looks like he's starting to get that back within his game. And yeah, hopefully he can kick on, because he is a really, really good footballer. And I think we've started to see, not just tonight with the goals, but he scored a very similar goal against Tottenham. He's been really good in this little bit of form for Liverpool. I think he's perfect for that position that he's playing at the moment. And yeah, if he can be a solution for Liverpool, that would definitely be a preferred option, I think, for Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, I have to admit, I was one of the people before this run of games Jones has had in the side. I mean, I don't think I ever realistically thought he might go anywhere just because of him being homegrown and the lack of midfielders at the club. But I have to say, I was sort of looking at him as somebody who could maybe be cashed in on in the summer. But I think he's, as you say, quashed all those doubts. One thing that was, I don't know how worrying, given obviously we've only got 2 games left and we do have a few more attacking options available at this point in the season than we did at one point when Jota and Diaz were out. But no Núñez on the bench for Liverpool tonight. Obviously, no real mentions of an injury from Klopp, not that I'm aware of. How big of a worry do you think that is with just 2 games left this season?
It's only a minor thing, I believe. It was a toe injury. He was obviously present. There was him and Firmino, who were both there, who are both unfit at the moment. But I think it's not a massive worry. I wouldn't be surprised if he was on the bench at the weekend. But I think for him, there is still a bit of a question mark. We do player ratings, winners and losers on Liverpool.com that people can go and check out on the website. And I put him as one of the losers, actually, not just obviously the fact that he's missed the game, but you look at the players around him. I thought Diogo Jota looked really good when he came off the bench. He looked really sharp and got into some good positions. Obviously, Cody Gakpo has really impressed me in the last few weeks in terms of the role that he's playing and the type of player that he's becoming. And obviously, Diaz and Salah, I think when they're both fit and at 100% fitness and sharpness, are in Liverpool's best 11. So there is a bit of a question around Darwin Núñez. I think I'd be surprised if he started in either of the final 2 games of this season. Obviously, he's had the slight injury now, but just in terms of sort of where he stands, I think in the pecking order at the moment, it's a little bit difficult to see how he gets in and how you'd pick him ahead of a couple of the other players who are in there. I think with Jota and Luis Diaz being fit now and able to play off the left, that's maybe closed that avenue down. And we've just seen Liverpool look at a completely different side, I think, with Cody Gakpo in that number 9 position. I think there is an opportunity, maybe if you've got a couple of extra midfielders next season, to maybe sort of have Darwin Núñez in that position. But at the moment, when Liverpool are a little bit uncertain, I think Jordan Henderson was all right today, but not particularly scintillating. I don't think it's a perfect position for him to play. I think you kind of need Cody Gakpo to knit things together and be that kind of creative player who can drop deep. And Darwin Núñez just can't do that, I don't think. I think it might be a little bit of a struggle for him in the final couple of games to get a proper opportunity. I think he probably will come off the bench in 1 or 2 of those matches, but I'd be surprised if he started. And yeah, like I say, I think if you can maybe bring in another creative midfielder to play on that right side of the midfield 3, I think maybe then Darwin Núñez looks a little bit better as that number 9. But at the moment, I just think you need Cody Gakpo to be in there. And obviously, the wide positions, as I say, have both been taken up. So I think there is a little bit of a question mark around him. I think he was one that it would have been nice to have him as an option off the bench. It would have been good to see him a little bit. Obviously, we get to see Harvey Elliott and particularly Fabio Carvalho that we haven't seen for a long time. So it was no bad thing to have those as options off the bench. But yeah, I think for him, he would have been disappointed to miss out tonight because there was an opportunity to go there and score a couple of goals and look good and maybe kick on and get a bit of confidence. But yeah, just a minor injury that kept him out tonight.
Yeah, he does seem to have slipped right down the pecking order, Núñez, obviously with Gakpo having come in, Jota and Diaz having come back. But we'll finish with, the inevitable Trent chat at this point. I was a bit worried after about an hour because I was like, I sort of asked the same questions every time about this new role on a debrief. But then he banged that one in from about 30 yards. It was eerily similar to when he scored against Chelsea. I think it was the title-winning season. I'm not 100% sure on that. But just about, I think this one was about 5 yards further out, so slightly more impressive. How good of a goal was that, Matt?
Yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it? And a 3rd assist in the game for Mohamed Salah as well, which Sorry, I think I lost you there. Are we back on?
Yeah, you're all right.
Good stuff. Apologies. My laptop decided to do some updates whilst we were live on a debrief, which was not particularly handy. But yes, Trent Alexander-Arnold was excellent. Yeah, I thought he played quite well actually in that position today, and obviously slightly different for him. I think it's these sorts of games where we'll see the best of him. I think in terms of being able to just be that playmaker, roam about. I was a little bit concerned, as we mentioned this morning, in terms of what would happen with sort of him moving into the midfield and giving the opportunity for Leicester to sort of put the ball into that channel and give it to Harvey Barnes. But yeah, Barnes and Maddison didn't particularly do loads today. And yeah, I think the kind of ability for someone like him to just almost have a bit of a free role, you don't expect that in a game away at Leicester. But yeah, it was good to see. I think it was a good performance from him. The goal obviously was outstanding. The rest of his play was pretty good as well, but I'm sure he'll have even better moments for Liverpool. Hopefully he can do a similar couple of performances to end the season, and possibly we might see that a little bit more going into next season. So yeah, fingers crossed that is the case, and it was obviously great to see that goal. I think, again, that's another thing that I would quite like to see with this new system. I mentioned sort of Curtis Jones getting a couple more goals, which he's got tonight. I think Trent as well, if you play him in that position, not just from the set pieces, but you think if he gets into those central areas, there was a couple that Fabinho had in the first half. I'm not a massive fan of Fabinho shooting from distance. It tends to be a little bit of a waste when that's the case. But I think if you can get Trent into those positions, which you'd imagine with this new role might be possible, I think that's certainly something to watch out for. And look, if you can get 6, 7, 8 goals from each of those two players, I think that's just a nice little bonus for Liverpool moving forward into next season. So yeah, be interesting to see how long or sort of how they kind of tweak that moving forwards. But it's certainly something that I'm enjoying.
Yeah, I'm in the other camp with Fabinho. Every time he picks the ball up on the edge of the area, I just throw back to that goal against Man City. But yeah, I don't think we want him having to go from there too often. But Liverpool making it 7 wins on the bounce tonight. It's over to Newcastle against Brighton on Thursday. Hopefully Brighton can do something for us there. And, the race for the top 4 is still on. But for now, from myself and Matt, it's thanks, and we'll catch you next time.